Good morning, all. It is Monday, November 9th, 2020, here at the Morning Buzz. This is 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey. I am your host today, Amanda Marino, with my co-host,
Ryan Trick.
And in our lovely Zoom studio, we have
Kyle Pepitone.
And our wonderful sportscaster,
Ryan White. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So excited for today. Ryan, how was your weekend?
It was good. It was a little uneventful, except for the fact that we finally have a new president.
After what, 5 days?
After 5 days.
The longest election ever, right?
I mean, it was a long one. But yeah, we finally have a new president. I was kidding, of course. It was very eventful, very stressful for us in the media world. Keeping up with the news, drinking lots of coffee, more so than usual.
Yeah.
I had a very tragic incident this morning.
Oh, did you?
That I'd like to share with our listeners.
Oh, no.
It's going to be a sad day today. As I was exiting my vehicle in the Red Hawk deck, grabbing my, various things, my keys, my phone, I reached for my coffee, and in my grogginess, my hand slippeth, and I spilleth coffee all over the inside of my car. About a third of my fancy eggnog latte from Starbucks, which my taste buds are still confused about. About a third of it just was floored all over my mats, my seat. Thankfully, I cleaned it up. So, Dad, if you're listening, don't worry. He'll probably yell at me anyways because I just got a car wash. But
well, at least now your car will smell very Christmassy.
Yeah, now my car smells like Christmas. But yeah,
that was a great story, by the way. You have like a great way of telling like stories, just like something that was so ridiculous of just spilling your coffee in your car.
Whenever I tell a story, again, speaking of my dad, whenever I tell a story with my dad around, he just starts like nagging me. He's like, just get to the point of the story. I'm like, well, that's not the fun of the story then. It's like, yeah, I spilled coffee in my car, or, I tell the story. Anyways.
All right, well,
it was a very tragic moment this morning. But other than that, it's going to be a good day.
It's going to be a good day. It's actually really weird that it's like warm out and everything, too.
I hate it. I hate it with a passion.
But we have a lot of great stories for you today. And of course, we can't really go anywhere else without hitting our news from our wonderful newscaster, Kyle Pepitone. Hit us with that news, Kyle.
Hello. So, in national news, as Ryan has already mentioned, AP News reports that the president-elect, Joe Biden, has said that he intends to rapidly build a new administration in the coming weeks. However, there is still uncertainty as to whether President Donald Trump, the current president, and his administration will cooperate during the transitional period between now and January. The president has called for legal action at recounts in regards to voting in several states where there could be some speculation of voter fraud. In more local news, in the state of New Jersey, Governor Phil Murphy has announced 2,043 new coronavirus cases alongside 4 additional deaths. As the state begins to enter a second wave, the governor has said there could be more limitations put in place, although he has not expanded further on that claim. NJ.com says the high number of cases will most definitely lead to newer limitations to be enacted upon. And finally, in some good news, the Good News Network reports that the Air Company, that's the name of the company, is taking their carbon conversion technology and applying it to space travel. The Brooklyn-based startup company is focusing on making rocket fuel from carbon dioxide. The fuel would be a more environmentally friendly alternative to the liquid methane that is currently being used in spaceflight. And in weather, my window's actually closed today, so I'll just use the phone. Oh, okay. There we go. It is.
You didn't want to do a display for the whole audience on Facebook? No, Kyle. Like I meant when you got up and went by the window a few weeks ago. That was great.
Yes, thank you. In Manalapan, it is currently 50 degrees, the lowest temperature for the day, with a high of 73 degrees. We have a sunset at 4:45 p.m., which seems completely unnatural at this point, a 10% chance of rain, and 84% humidity.
And of course, it is a little bit chillier here in Upper Montclair. It was, last time I checked my phone, it has warmed up to a nice 50 degrees. However, I will have to say I am not very thrilled, Kyle. I'm not thrilled with the weather.
Warmer than you want?
It's warmed up to about 50 degrees, and that is in fact the lowest it's going to get on today's sunny day. It's going to be a high of 77 here in Upper Montclair, and I am not a fan, Kyle. It is November. I'm going to lean back from my mic for a moment. It's November. Why is it still this warm out?
Hey, I'm okay with it.
I have
know.
I'm not
several
okay
questions.
with it logically because I know why it's warmer because global warming's a thing, but like
I have
also at the same time I'm okay with it because I like the warm weather.
Wait, global warming's a thing?
Yeah.
That's sarcasm, by the way, to all the Karens out there who just spray your hairspray into the atmosphere and don't believe in global warming. But no, it is actually infuriating to me, and I have several questions. Most of them are just a variation of why is it so dang warm out.
That's
In
the question of the day.
November,
Why is it so dang warm out?
it drives me up the wall.
I mean, I think your questions are a bit more logical. My questions are the same every year. Why is the sun setting at 4 o'clock?
Exactly.
Yeah, and I feel like I'd rather like get up and it be dark out still than I would it be dark at like 5 o'clock.
I love getting up
Ever-
when it is still dark
Ever
out.
since daylight savings time, because we get up pretty early for Amanda and I when we come into the studio, and especially when I come into the studio for the Thursday buzz with Kaya. I normally would get up when it's like pitch black out, and I'd be driving like before the sun rose. And ever since daylight savings time, I have this weird feeling like I'm running late because I was
It's
so
like
used
so
to
late,
driving when it
yeah.
was dark out, and now I leave my house, it's bright out, and I like rush to my
No,
car.
I
I look at the time, I'm like,
completely
wait, I'm still
agree.
early.
I completely agree.
But you know what else drives me up the wall?
What?
And this is my one sports factoid, is the Cowboys are now on like their 4th string quarterback or something. I don't know. That's my segue
That's your
into
segue to sports, I'm assuming.
sports.
Ryan,
We
what's
got
going on in the sports world?
Ryan White.
Not
We
yet,
have
not Ryan.
a
Trick.
lot. We got going on in the sports world. Hello and good morning, listeners. What a week of sports we had. Let's dive right into it. Yesterday in the NFL, the New York Giants defeated the Washington football team and improved to 2-6. New York faces Philly next week in a game that could very well determine who wins the NFC East. On Sunday Night Football, it was supposed to be Tampa Bay's revenge and coming out game, and neither happened. The New Orleans Saints came to play and dominated Tampa by a score of 38-3. Drew Brees and that defense played phenomenal. The Pittsburgh Steelers narrowly defeated the Dallas Cowboys and improved to 8-0, the last remaining team undefeated. Dallas is now on to their 4th-string quarterback. Russell Wilson didn't play well for the second time this year, which led to Seattle losing at Buffalo. With Tom Brady and Russell Wilson not playing great, it looks like Patrick Mahomes is taking the lead for MVP as of right now, although we cannot forget that Aaron Rodgers has been balling and is right there in the conversation. Tonight on Night Football, the New York Jets look to try and get their first win of the season against the New England Patriots. Both teams seem to be out of the playoffs already, with Buffalo and Miami separating themselves at the top of the division. Switching to the NBA, coming off a successful playoffs in the bubble, the NBA has confirmed that the start date for the new season is December 22nd and will be a 72-game season. Similar to the NFL, low amounts of fans are expected in the arenas. Lastly, baseball has been relatively quiet since the World Series. However, the Boston Red Sox signed former manager Alex Cora after he was on a 1-year suspension. Winning a World Series in 2018 has a lot to do with having him return. That is all for now. Stay tuned. The sports world is always busy.
Thank you, Ryan. And it's true, the sports world is back to being busy.
Yeah.
Which is nice.
I meant to ask you, Ryan, did you get to see, because I know was bothering me all weekend. I was, of course, up on Saturday night for SNL, but there was a Notre Dame game, and I was very upset by the game. Not only was it taking up SNL time, but the game, everybody came to the field in the middle at the end of the game just to like cheer the team, and I got it. I understood it was a big game. But it scared me because of the coronavirus. There were so many people on that field. I was so overwhelmed. I don't know if you got to catch the game or saw any pictures or anything from it, but like, did you have any thoughts on that?
I just think college fans are pretty crazy, and when your team gets like a top 5 win, like Clemson was ranked number 1, the passion that some of these fans have, like everything goes out the window. Like they just do it.
Yeah, fair
Wow.
enough. Fair
Well-
enough. I've been to some college games myself, you know, and I understand
Kyle,
the
what were you-
craziness.
What were you gonna say? Because
I
Ryan
was
cut
gonna
you
say,
off.
like, going off of that, didn't like a whole bunch of people gather around the White House to celebrate Joe Biden's presidency?
We're gonna get into that.
Oh,
of
yeah, we're
course.
gonna
We
get
are
into
gonna
all
get
of
into
that.
that.
Okay,
Obviously,
opening up
that's
the can of worms too early.
That's a segue, obviously, Kyle.
Yeah.
Thank you, but thank you, Ryan, for your sportscast. It was wonderful as always. Yeah, let's get into our first story today. So, like we said in the newscast, we have a new president.
Well, a new president elect. Yeah. So for those of you who
May have missed it.
yeah, for those of you who may have missed it, Joe Biden did win. I believe the win came out of Pennsylvania. I think Nevada is gonna finish counting their votes
Nevada was already
somewhere.
finished too.
No,
Nevada.
I think they're gonna finish counting their votes sometime in the next 10 years.
Yeah,
Probably. I don't know what's gonna come first, Nevada finishing or
the
Cyberpunk
2024 election.
Cyberpunk 2077 coming out or the 2024 election. We'll find out soon. But no, but in all seriousness, we do have a new president elect. And for those of you who don't know what that means, kind of fill in people, you know, because some people aren't out there, might not be very politically inclined. That
Hey
means
Ryan.
what's
hey
up?
Ryan. When's election day?
What you hush you. It's already passed, Amanda. See,
Yeah,
I know
I mean,
things.
for any listeners,
It was
or
on the
viewers out there,
it was on the 10th of March, right?
for any
Something like
listeners
that.
or viewers out there,
All right.
there was
so
a week where
listen,
Ryan didn't know.
there
what
was a
election
week where
day-
Ryan was very busy and very stressed and briefly forgot when election day was.
He's like, what? What
I
day
was
is it? I'm like
like,
Tuesday.
literally,
every
I
every
knew
year it's on a
the
Tuesday.
day. It was a rhetorical question. I was like, "What day is it?" It's on like Tuesday, and everyone was like, "Ryan, really?" But anyways, thank you for calling me out on air. It doesn't
You're
matter anymore
welcome.
because I don't have to worry about it for another 4 years. But basically, the new president elect means that we will not have, like, he will not be. Biden
in a
doesn't have
transition
power.
phase.
It's a transition
He has
phase.
no power currently, but he is starting already a transitional phase, which means like we already saw he already put it together a coronavirus task
Well, yeah, we
force,
have
which
more
is
on
really
that in a little
cool.
bit. Yeah.
But he's already starting to set what he wants to do and getting ready so that when he takes office, that he already has things in the works and
Yeah.
things are going to be able to be done a lot quicker.
Yeah,
and
so
faster.
he'll be sworn in January, and we'll get into in a little bit. We'll get more into like what he's been doing and how that transition's going right now, because that's a whole can
That's
of
a whole
worms
thing
we'll
too, but
open up.
obviously
But
everybody took to the streets this weekend because people were excited. Obviously, I mean, people were excited about having a new president, but also very excited because not only do we have a new president, we have the first woman of color as the VP.
heck
And
yeah,
that is so cool. I know as a woman, I'm very happy, very excited, very thrilled. And yeah, I don't know. So people really did take to the streets over the weekend and stuff and showing their support. Ryan, I think you got a video
yeah.
for
So
us.
we got some video footage, which kind of leads us into why when we say, you know, people are cases are spiking.
Which is it's very like I understand the everybody going out and wanting to support, which I think is great, but
yeah. So
people just really cheering and excited about all of this, and it's really fascinating and amazing to see. I know my cousin lives in the city, and I heard that she's heard like all these pots being like
Oh, yeah.
being like smashed together and things like that, like for people celebrating in the city and things, and that's awesome, and it makes me so happy and it makes me feel great. But it also, I have this feeling of worry, and the worry is that we still have a coronavirus pandemic happening, and the coronavirus pandemic, which is alarming. And I know Kyle already brought up those
the stats.
Those
yeah.
worries.
So, in NJ specifically, we've reported, and this is thanks to NJ.com, 2,043 new COVID-19 cases and 4 deaths. This was updated, I believe, yesterday. Yeah.
Well, which is alarming because we've had
Um,
basically about a week of over 2,000, and then I think there was a date thrown in there that we had over 3,000.
we have had, the U.S. So obviously the election was very important.
And the
people,
U.S. was also breaking some records this week as
yeah.
well.
So the election was really taking over the news coverage. And one thing that I want to say the U.S. and I feel comfortable saying one thing the U.S. seems to have completely forgotten about over the past couple of days, about the past week almost, is the fact that there was still a pandemic. I do understand, obviously, the election, very important stuff, but at the same time, big pandemic at the moment. The US over the past week, cases have spiked like crazy. I think we've broken several records like back to back, of like most cases in a day or whatever. And that's because of the election. People were going out and polling, and then we saw the protests when Donald Trump was asking to stop counting the votes that were coming in, mail-in votes. So there were protests happening as well on both sides. We saw people gathering for Biden's side as well. And then just obviously the celebrations are great. If you're passionate, it's good to express that. Here on the Morning Buzz, the opinions reflected of the hosts do not reflect that of the station. Personally speaking, and hey, maybe I'll finally get some angry tweets. Personally speaking, I will admit I was a little happy when I heard the results, but I am still worried. I will say that because of the results, obviously there's a lot of unhappy people out there. And those unhappy people might be gathering in places,
what I'm also
but
worried
the
about
happy
is
people are
I've
also
been
gathering
hearing
in places. So it's crazy right
I've
now.
been hearing as well that people, because they're upset with the results that Joe Biden will be our next president, Trump, I heard, is trying to do some rallies again, to try to do rallies to get people on his side about this, and maybe that will help. But in the end, it really doesn't. It's not like they could vote again. You know what I mean? They can't
Yeah.
do much about it. It's just, if anything, this is going to go into rulings in courts and in court cases within the Supreme Court and things. And there's only so much they could do. They've already denied some of the things he's said.
So yeah. So and listen, I in the words of one of the wisest men I know, i.e. my dad, all of this is just everything you're gonna see in the coming months on the news about Trump, like trying to go to court. I do want to say this publicly on air. He does not really have a legal basis in any of his claims. He is doing this for entertainment value. And
Yes.
again, in the words of my dad, all the news for the next few months about Trump, just treat it like entertainment. It's because, when you boil down to it, like, listen, he's a TV guy. That's not like an insult. That's charismatically, objectively, psychologically speaking. That's what his campaign was based off of. As much as he trashed the media is the reason he was in office,
I want to throw out an idea too of saying, like, okay, the big thing lately has been, okay, there was fraud. Okay, whatever. That's a claim. At the same time, I'm gonna be honest. This is just my thoughts, and I know a lot of people also share. So again, my opinion, not of the station. If there was fraud of any case, why wouldn't the Democrats have taken over the Senate? Because they didn't. Because they're right now, they would have. Do you know what I mean?
But yeah, that was
right now
the
the
joke.
Republicans still lead in that. So if that was really the case,
yeah.
they would have just taken that and they would have taken that away.
Yeah, the
But they
joke going
didn't.
around on social media is like if Democrats really wanted to have fraud in the election, don't you think they would have like just taken full control? But anyway,
Yeah, they would have, or they would have at least made it obvious that they would have taken control, like had a
yeah.
few more seats. But right now they have to do some runoff races, and that's going to decide who the Senate majority is. And
it's all pointless conspiracy
it's
at the
just
moment.
like at this point, it's like what I don't know.
Yeah. So, anyways, it's all pointless conspiracy at the moment. But the over, kind of looping back to what we were talking about is like listen, it's fine to celebrate in the streets. That whatever. And as Americans, you have a right to protest. That's fine.
Yeah, you have a right
freedom
to
of protest peacefully. I will say people forget that. They're like, I have a right to protest. I'm going to burn down this Wendy's or something. But no, don't burn down the Wendy's. You have a right to peacefully protest, just as you have a right to march in the street and have like a parade, which is happening all over the country right now. I just want to remind people, though, we are again still in the middle of a pandemic.
What makes me have a little hope is that people were wearing masks. They were. In some crowds were with who they were with, like, their family or there's friends that they've been with, which is good. And I know some people were doing their own little celebrations too. I saw people in my news feed that were like popping open a bottle of champagne and, doing that whole thing. So, like I think people were having their personal celebrations as well, which I think is good. And I don't know. I like as much as I'm worried about it and I'm concerned about it. And I know a lot of people were like, oh, so they're allowed to go celebrate now and the virus isn't a thing anymore. And the virus is still alive and well here. If anything, it's actually just as bad as when it first got here at this point.
Yeah, it is over the past couple, I'd
We
say
had some
over
of the
past
highest numbers in the US ever.
We broke our record like back to back.
Yeah, I think there was the one day I remember it was
cases.
like 126,000 in one day cases. Which
Yeah.
in the U.S., so we're breaking records.
Which is scary to think about. So again, there's no need to panic and there's no need to be afraid of the virus. If you're staying safe, you're social distancing, you are wearing your mask properly. Who in this call knows how to wear a mask properly? Everyone raise your hand. The way you wear a mask properly, Kyle. The way you wear your mask properly, PSA for everybody out there. It needs to cover your exactly. It needs to cover your mouth and your nose. If you wear it just around your neck, you do not have gills unless you are a fish person, in which case you should be sent to Area 51.
So is that why the election results were taking so long from there? It was like Area 51. Everybody was upset from that. Either that or people.
All the fish people wanted to get their votes in, and there's some ballot thing.
I have to say the best part of like the election taking so long was all the memes.
There were a lot of election memes. I will admit, as stressful as everything is,
it made me happy in a sense to hear like there was one, I don't know if you saw it, Ryan, that they said, it was of Nevada, and they were like, oh, how do we tell everybody that Kanye won?
Yeah. Oh yeah. So the joke was, so Kanye West, and I told this to my dad and he did not believe me. Was it like 70,000 votes or something?
70,000 votes. It was like
Kanye got like 70,000 votes during the election.
It was like a good 2%.
Which I believe, and this is the saddest part, I believe that's more than some independent parties. Yeah. So
I don't know. Harambe 2020. I don't know.
Harambe 2020. That's what I did. Wrote in Harambe, folded my ballot into a little paper airplane and flew it to the White House. But so anyway, so if you are stressed about the election, everything going on, I don't know, maybe just check out some memes. There are some really good memes going around.
There were that was like one of my favorites. Is like how are we gonna tell the rest of the country that actually Kanye won Nevada?
Yeah, exactly. That was the theory. Kanye won Nevada. He did not.
No, and it was funny too because like I have friends in Nevada and Wisconsin and stuff, and they were telling me how crazy it was. Like them, like they were like, we're waiting. Come on with these results, and it was so funny to me because I was like, wow, I don't even know what it's like because we were called like the first minute like our polls closed, so
yeah. The funny part is you think the running joke, which is a two-part joke, you think Nevada, the home of Las Vegas, would be good at counting, but turns out not so much because Nevada is ranked like super low in education. Sorry to all our Nevada listeners.
Yikes,
We love
yeah.
you equally.
Um,
You know, it's not like I'm saying New Jersey counted like faster than most of the country or anything. But anyways,
but can we just talk about? So I do want to talk about the president elect and specifically the
yes.
VP. Breaking records here. We did notice that with Joe Biden, it was the record breaking popular vote. The most people actually turned out to vote this time around, which was a great thing, I think, all around. Whoever you support, I feel like
Yeah,
it's
it's good to go
awesome.
out and
It's like
vote.
the fact that it was like 75 million people. Yeah, 75 million
Yeah,
people.
there's a couple
Yeah.
reasons why too, like so many people came out and voted. I have a theory that one of the reasons so many people came out and voted was because of the pandemic and because mail-in voting, as controversial as it was, you know, throughout like
Mhm.
running up to the campaign, mail-in voting became so big in the news. I think people realized, oh, I don't have to go. And I said this, I believe, on the Friday Buzz last week. Um, you know, I think a big thing with voting is people are kind of turned off of the idea that they have to actually take off on election day and, you know, instead of going to work, physically go and vote at a voting place. And I think because of the pandemic and because of all the mail-in voting, I think it kind of gave a lot of people a better option to um, go in and vote,
I think
and it kind of more encouraged people, you know,
the
you don't have to go in person, you can go in and just, you know, to a ballot box and slip your ballot in or mail your vote in.
as much as it got so annoying in the end of social media telling you to vote and like celebrities telling you to vote and
Oh, it was
it was
driving me
so annoying and
nuts.
it drove you insane, but like I feel like it got to the point for a lot of people. Like I know personally, like a lot of my friends and family, like sometimes they wouldn't necessarily care about voting, and I think a lot more people, it was like a goal for them to vote.
I mean,
And I think especially with our age, I think it's like we have a lot more opinions at such an like due to social media and stuff, like we grew up with that. So I think with that in mind, a lot of people were like, this is my first time voting, I'm going to go for it and I'm going to vote and get my opinion, get it heard, and make a difference somehow.
I don't know. I think the social media, everybody telling me to vote was kind of beneficial. I don't know what happened. I just, every time I clicked away from a tweet, I just kept forgetting about it. And then every other tweet, I'm like, oh yeah, I got to do that. Wait, what? Oh yeah. No,
No,
Yeah.
it definitely helped.
It
I
was
think for a lot of
constant,
people, like I mean,
yeah.
as much as it, like I said, it got annoying for me, especially like I was like, I sent my ballot in already. I don't need to see it again. But some people do honestly need that constant reminder. So I think like it helps.
Yeah.
There should be
It
like a
helps.
little box that said, I voted already. Shut up.
Yeah, exactly. You could just check a little box.
But what I was gonna
Um,
say was, so what do you guys think about breaking records this year? Like with that, all that stuff. We obviously had a bigger, the most ever submitted votes for a president elect, which is incredible. And also, we then had a record breaking, we have a VP that is a woman and of color.
so I think to kind of start, the woman of color as VP thing is awesome. I saw I follow a lot of cosplay people on Twitter, and I saw one black woman on Twitter who does a lot of cosplay. She tweeted, "I felt like this was an appropriate cosplay for the day," and then an American flag emoji. And I'll try and find that for everybody, but it was she was cosplaying as Wonder Woman. And traditionally, the character Wonder Woman is not black, but I thought it was an amazing cosplay because, you know, up until this point, we haven't had a black or female even VP. So it's awesome to see that, I think. And as for the record breaking turnout, you know, I have two theories. Obviously, like I said, the coronavirus, you know, kind of has allowed people to go and mail in their votes, as kind of encouraged people like, hey, you don't have to go in person, which I think is cool. Also, I mean, if you look at the amount of votes, like historically, obviously with, you know, the population curve, you know, we have more people in the US now. So obviously more people would be more likely to vote. However, still, we broke the record by like a lot of people, you know, I believe. So I think it's cool. You know, like I said, and we were talking about this all over WMSC, you know, it's good to exercise your right to vote. We are, you know, I would say we are blessed to live in a country that's a democracy. I don't know, some communists or anarchists out there living in America might disagree with me, but you know, whatever, angry tweet me at Ryan the Trick. You know, I think it's awesome that we live in a democracy in a country where you can exercise your right to vote. It's cool. You know, if you think about it, like there are a lot of places in the world you don't get that privilege.
I want to share a picture real quick. I was just looking for it to help a little bit with how this makes me feel, specifically with having a woman of color. Hold on. Just got to share my
no.
screen.
Is it going to be a meme?
No.
Okay.
It's actually like a really nice picture.
Oh, I would not be surprised if you showed us a meme.
Okay. Sorry, my screen.
You can watch it. For those of you who are listening, you can always check us out on YouTube or on Facebook as well.
So for anybody that's not looking at my screen right now, that's not watching on Facebook or YouTube, it's a picture of Kamala Harris, and there's a shadow of a little girl.
Oh, instead of her shadow. That's so cool.
And it's so, to me, this was so exciting because for anybody that doesn't know who the shadow is supposed to be, it's supposed to be Ruby Bridges, who was 6 years old at the time of that's the shadow from when she was 6, when she became the first Black child to desegregate Louisiana's William Francis Elementary School in 1960.
Yep.
So there was a whole lot of posts going around on social media that was saying, Rosa sat so Ruby could walk, so Kamala could run.
Oh,
and it was so
cool.
and I was making me feel so great because not only is this a win for women, but this is also a win for, you know, people of color and things. And it made people feel so good. And it makes me personally feel so good that we're allowed to finally be able to make a mark. And, you know, this isn't just about whether you're into politics or not. It's just, I saw a tweet over the weekend that said, you know, my daughter was watching the news and she's like, so people like me can be president or hold power and stuff. And it was so nice to see because we're so used to seeing a whole line of, I'm going to be honest, white men. And so when you see that, you don't know if you have a place. And it just shows we've been seeing a lot more empowering women over the years with, you know, how they're making toys nowadays and showing that women can be scientists and doctors and doing all that things. And we still have a long way to go, like we have for a lot of things, but this is a huge step and an amazing step for the country.
Oh yeah, definitely an awesome step towards progress, I think.
Kyle, do you have anything to say with that?
Not really. I mean, Biden was not my first choice for president, but that doesn't mean I want to see him fail. If he is president, I hope he does a good job, and I hope he does.
That's what we were talking about this the other day at Ryan and I we were saying, you know what, and I actually saw a post from our station manager, AJ Malillo, if he's listening. He's not, he's sleeping. but it was actually a really nice post, which basically said, at the end of the day, whoever you support, like, we have to put that aside and realize we want the best for like the country. So if we see a president fail, it's just going to be bad for us.
A president's failure is our country's failure.
So in the end, you want to root for whoever's president because you want, you know, change to come. You want success. You want great things to happen for the country as a whole. And so does everybody around the world. We saw so many people from around the other countries supporting that they were like excited about the president-elect and all that kind of stuff. And that's important too, because we have to talk about foreign trade and all that stuff. So, you know, like, this is like, again, at the end of the day, whether you support it or not, like, just hope for the best for the country. Hope for the best that we get out of this pandemic soon. Hope for, you know, change, whether that comes in the workplace or just in your personal life and things like that. And that's all we could hope for.
Exactly. And speaking of hopefully getting out of this pandemic soon, after we take a short break, we're going to be talking about how Biden, as the current president-elect, is already putting together his own little task force and making plans for COVID.
All right, stay with us all.
Who is also here, Kyle. How's it going?
Hello, how is everyone doing?
Doing good.
Doing great.
So we're going to move into our next story, in case you're just tuning in and you've been in a coma for the past month or so, we have a new president or new president elect.
Yes.
President elect Joe Biden and VP elect Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris. I'm bad at pronouncing things.
It's
People
okay, me
still
too.
tell me it's caramel.
Caramel.
False, caramel.
I thought
Anyways,
you were still talking about the VP name.
no.
No. 'cause
I got
you-
very confused.
VP elect Carmel Harris.
God.
Kamala. So I guess to start this off, this is a pretty cool thing. So Bush actually, who is a Republican, actually gave a quote, kind of supporting Biden as the new leader of our country. He said, quote, "Though we have political differences, I know Joe Biden to be a good man who has won his opportunity to lead and unify our country," end quote, which is interesting to see because a part of Biden's election campaign was kind of around bipartisanship. And that's a lot of what we're seeing. But another big thing that he's doing as the new president-elect is, and I believe this will be announced sometime today, he's announcing his like COVID task force.
So I already saw we already saw some names dropped for the coronavirus task
Yeah.
force, but I think he's also going to start outlining his plan, which I think is what we're going to hear a little bit more today
Yeah.
about how they're going to approach it. Obviously, there's ideas of what they're going to do. I know a lot of people are already thinking about a mask mandate and things like that. I think we're just going to have overall someone that is very much taking this seriously and has putting the best people, whether you like Joe Biden or not, putting the best people on his side that are doctors and that are people that know what's going on and is not somebody that's, media informed. It's going to be people that are actually went to school, studied this. They're going to have people like Dr. Fauci on their side with this, which I think is going to be great.
Yeah, and so the two names that he's dropped already for the COVID task force is former Surgeon General Dr. Vivek Murthy and former Food and Drug Administration Commissioner David Kessler. They're going to be co-chairs of a coronavirus working group that are going to be set to get started as soon as he is sworn into office. Now, currently, it's unclear whether President Donald Trump and his administration is going to cooperate with the transition. As we said earlier, he's currently yet to acknowledge Biden's victory and has pledged to mount legal challenges in multiple states. But again, at the moment, there are no. He has no legal basis for doing so.
And
So we're just gonna see. Again, it's all going to be noise until January.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the last.
And that's
that
why,
we're gonna really get into
especially take these next few months really seriously, especially with COVID and stuff.
Yes.
Listen to the doctors, listen to whatever is, wear your mask, do your thing, do what you're doing to keep
Be safe. Be smart.
Be safe,
all
be
you
smart.
gotta
That's
do.
our PSA from WMSC today.
There you go.
Seriously, be safe because everybody's talking about. I know everybody's been like, "Oh, second wave, third wave, whatever we're at this point."
I feel like people were talking about a second wave for months now, and then
But at the
now
same
they're talking about a
time,
third wave.
the first time this was happening, it was going from spring into that summery. It's hot outside.
Muggy and
you
stuff,
can go
Yeah.
outside and get some fresh air. Now we're going to be into winter, and winter is, as everybody knows, is a normal flu season and is normal
Yeah.
and people are already reporting that they're getting symptoms of a flu. I saw a post yesterday. It was like a person got sick with the flu, but then they also had COVID as well. So it doesn't mean that you can't get both and things like that. It's just be safe, be smart, do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
That's a little PSA from
Hand
WMSC.
sanitizer, and toilet paper are now back in stock. Remember when
Honestly,
everything was
okay,
out
but
of stock?
I'm not gonna lie.
Can
I'm
we throw
honestly
back to that for a minute?
working at a grocery store. We actually got 2 days ago. We got a sheet that says you have to start limiting things again because people
Oh.
are getting nervous again about if said we're going into winter. I know there's a lot of speculation in the state too if we're gonna shut down again. And at the end of the day, don't go crazy. We saw what happened the last time. Supermarkets are still open. Just
Yeah,
Be
I
relaxed.
think people were afraid that supermarkets were going to be closed or whatever. It's like they're not going to close supermarkets.
Well, I know in some countries they limit you when you go. Like I know when Italy shut down the first time, they like you were allowed to leave your house once a week.
Yeah, but they
But that was
didn't.
in Italy.
But people were saving. I think there are some people out there who are probably still using the toilet paper they bought at the beginning of the pandemic 9 months ago. We saw people looting for toilet paper.
People
Can
were
you
fighting in a
imagine?
Walmart parking lot.
Yeah, people were
this
like
pa-
throwing hands
I
at
think my
Walmart
favorite part of this pandemic is
over
I
2
mean,
ply.
I know this is like it's a sad thing. We have to recognize we still lost people to this virus, and I extend my thoughts and prayers to them. But I think it's funny that there's all these stages of the pandemic.
Why? Yeah, why? So I'm confused about the media, and I'm in media. I
'Cause,
work
like,
in the media industry.
I love if we were talking about memes earlier, and there's all these like stages of the pandemic. Everyone's like, you remember the Tiger King phase of the pandemic
yeah,
when
there
that
were,
was
like,
like a thing for
phases.
like 2
Lockdown.
weeks?
I thought you were talking about
phase.
the actual like phases.
No,
Like people were like, yeah,
no,
the
no,
first wave,
no.
the second wave,
No,
the
No,
third
I'm
wave.
talking about like what
social
people
phases.
remember,
Yeah.
like what they remember during this pandemic. Or like, oh, what there was the
Tiger King was this
phase.
year too, wasn't it? Wow.
Yes. The Tiger
Remember-
King phase, like there was a Hamilton time that came out, and people were like chilling doing that. I mean,
Yeah.
there was so many things that like media put out there at this time, and it was just
Remember
Yeah.
when Animal Crossing was a thing?
oh my yeah,
It's still a
exactly.
thing. Don't at
Remember when
me.
that came out? Yeah, like
It's still a
there
thing.
was the toilet paper phase because we had that was like people went through that for about a month that they couldn't find it.
Oh
They
my
couldn't get
gosh.
it.
Sold out everywhere. I still remember. This is a fun little
And the
tangent.
shelves were like clear at supermarkets.
This is a fun little sidebar. It was at the very beginning of the pandemic, before lockdown. It was on our spring break, when everything got shut down for us. I was doing a little road trip with my best friend Nick, and he lives up in Maryland, so I drove all the way to him, and we could not find like toilet paper or paper towels in my town. My dad and I, or like in neighboring stores, they were all sold out. So during this little trip we took, literally we went down to Maryland, Nick and I, so I could drop him off. And we went to like a Whole Foods in Maryland, and they had toilet paper and paper towels. And I called my dad. I was like, Dad, I'm down in Maryland and they have what we need. And he's like, load up. So my story is I had to go all the way down to a different state to find toilet paper.
It's all about the right
and-
time and place
and
too. Because I
paper
know
towels.
I work at Whole Foods, and I remember at certain times they'd put it out at like 3 o'clock in the middle of the day, and I would just like walk in right at that time, and I was like, cool, I'm gonna like stock up, and all the employees would also stock up. So, but yeah, it
We've seen some crazy phases, but
some
again,
crazy
this is
phases,
something
that was
that-
like we really got off that
yeah,
topic real
no, we
fast,
did, but it's something. It's just a reminder. It is obviously still
it's still very
something to
much a
take
thing, and
seriously.
I'm very interested because there was already a lot of Biden spoke on Saturday, and I'm very interested because they already had laid out a bunch of plans that he was gonna reverse some of Trump's things that he just did. I think there was like a Paris agreement, and then there was I'm trying to draw a blank a ban, something with a Muslim ban and things like that. He's like already gonna reverse them, which is
Yeah.
crazy. He's already has plans to work with that when he takes office, but he's gonna work with them right now to make sure they can go into
Yeah,
full effect.
which we've seen before presidents do when it switches sides.
Yeah, he's in
In
a
the
transitional phase
presidency,
right now.
they start like they start making plans to reverse whatever the previous
Like,
president did. We saw Trump did it with Obama's policies, and now Biden's doing it with Trump's policies.
much as-
That's just part of politics.
as much as January seems a very long way away, it's not, because you have to realize we're about like 2 weeks away from Thanksgiving, and then we go right into Christmas, and like
Turkey time.
yeah, and
It's-
like so
it
as much
is
as
not
it seems like
Christmas
it's
yet.
as much as it seems like it's super far away, like
It's only
it's
like
gonna
a month
happen
and a half.
It's like a month and a half away. It's
Yeah.
gonna be a lot faster,
Mm.
especially because this election took about a week. It was,
Yeah.
it's 11. It's the 10th of November tomorrow. That you know what I mean? It took a week. Usually we
it's
have those
crazy.
results the day after. So I don't know. So it's a lot of that stuff. But I'm excited to see what comes for sure.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, a lot of people have been wondering, why the election took so long. It's literally because of the mail-in votes.
There was a lot
Um,
more mail-in votes. Obviously, the election, there's always counting days after. Never is there not. There's always mail-in and there's counting always the days after. It's just
It's the
usually
sheer amount of
It's
mail-in
It's
the-
votes
never
we
to
it's-
this scale.
It's
yeah,
never
it's
to
never
this
to this
scale,
scale.
where
And
most of
also
the
at the
country
same
mails in.
time, a lot of people can start counting the mail-in until election day. Some
Yeah.
states like New Jersey were able to, but other places were not. And so if you're wondering like why it went on for so long, it's just because there's so many.
Yeah.
And usually that night we get so many of just the
In
being at the
person.
In person,
polls
yeah.
that you don't you
You
could be able
basically
to
know.
give an answer that night.
Yeah.
You're never really officially know. It's just the fact is you have a good idea.
Yeah, exactly. So
Well, it's
that-
all the mail-in voting and Nevada.
yeah, and Nevada.
Can
So I
we
think-
talk about for a second? As much as we know he's going to take the state, Alaska's only at like 50% right now of the votes they sent. Like,
Well, I think half of their votes were like frozen in an iceberg or
like
something.
or like a carrier
They
pigeon
were
or something.
stolen by
Like I
moose.
don't know. Like 50% of the like if I
It's all in love, all with love, Alaska. You know,
I mean like it's fine. Like you didn't need, Alaska only has 3 elect
electoral votes.
yeah, but like it's still like what is going on there?
Yeah.
Like if
I
I
mean,
look right now, I'm gonna pull it
My
up.
favorite part is I'm on the presidential map looking at Alaska. There doesn't even total 200,000 vote counts. Then you go to somewhere like California and there's like 15 million.
Yeah.
Just the stark difference between
Yeah,
the two states
50
is insane.
It's
According
awesome.
to Apple News, which gets their news from AP, Trump has 62.1% with Biden at 33.5%, and there's only 50% reporting.
Yeah.
That's like
I think Alaska gave up halfway through. Obviously, this is all, in good fun to our Alaskan listeners and viewers. But
Hearts,
it's
we love you.
Yeah, well, hearts out for Alaska. We love you guys. We love all our listeners. It's all in good fun. Same thing with Nevada.
But yeah, we're gonna move on from election talk because
Yeah, we're
that's
gonna
all
get
that's been
off
going
election
on
talk.
lately. Let's talk about something else.
We can finally talk about something else is the thing. It's
Yeah,
like
it's crazy. This
we're-
was the coverage for so long, or we were worried about what things were going on in this presidency, and I think we could now finally like take a deep breath, relax, and focus on something else.
exactly. And this is a little bit of a somber story.
Oh, it's so
Ugh.
sad. I'm upset with this.
Yeah, it is. And this is not us being jokingly upset. So, in case you did not hear, the American icon, legendary, I would even say world renowned, Alex Trebek passed away. If we could do a moment of silence on air, we would. At this
the
time,
FCC would hate us though.
the FCC would nail us for it. 36 years he hosted Jeopardy. For those of you who somehow don't know, the show Jeopardy, yeah, Alex Trebek has literally been hosting it for almost half of his life. He passed away at 80 years old. He hosted Jeopardy for 36 years of life. The news was announced yesterday morning. He has literally hosted it since its 1984 debut in syndication. And sadly, he tragically passed away of pancreatic cancer.
What I think is most interesting, I mean, besides this man living everybody knew him on watching TV. If you ever flipped to the channel and you're like, oh, Jeopardy, you always knew who this guy was. He was in plenty of movies and television shows as the Jeopardy host. Like,
Oh, yeah,
people
he
would play fun with it. And
Yeah.
what, besides dedicating his life to that, he also dedicated his life to a lot of charities and organizations. But what I think is even most interesting is, so he got diagnosed last year, or at least he revealed to the world in March 2019 that he was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. But he stayed as a positive figure. He kept doing his show, but he also was just very much became an advocate for positive, for people to find out if they have cancer and other things. And he was very much became you should go get yourself checked out. And he became that person that advocated, because he's I may have not been able to catch it as early, but you might. And he really became that. And I was listening to a report, I think it was from CBS yesterday, and there was a family that I guess watched Jeopardy, and this one man was really into it, and he heard him reveal this, and he's like, you know what, I should go get myself checked out. He went to the doctor, he found out he had stage 1 cancer, and he would have never gotten checked if he didn't hear Alex Trebek's story.
And I'm sure that's
And
one of
he was
many
obviously
stories
he was able to recover, obviously, the man, because it was stage 1, it was caught very early. But that just shows how kind and amazing this man was, because he became, instead of just, disappearing into the shadows after this diagnosis, he came out and he was still doing the show like normal, still presenting the show, but also becoming a positive advocate for this,
Yeah. So they did Columbia Pictures Television sorry, it's Sony Pictures Entertainment, which now owns the show. They confirmed that Jeopardy episodes hosted by Trebek are actually going to continue to air through December 25th. And they have said that the show would not immediately address plans to appoint a successor to Trebek. They're going to have a grace period of airing the episodes that were recorded, re-airing maybe some episodes, and then before, kind of out of respect for Trebek.
Yeah.
Trebek literally, again, I don't think people understand how insane it is to host a game show for almost 36 years, longer than a lot of the populace of America has been alive.
Well, I also
he is
wanna...
well, he had, real quick, he's won five daytime Emmy Awards for outstanding game show host. And in 2011, he actually received a Peabody Award for encouraging, celebrating, and rewarding knowledge. It is the only post-1960 game show to be honored with that award.
Wow.
And it was because of him.
So, I want to share a video real quick. This was something that people were sharing a lot on social media yesterday, because after he came out with this diagnosis, like I said, he still kept hosting the show, but people broke down from it the first time, just hearing that he had it, because they related so much. People had this on in their family rooms all their life. And so there was this one time on Jeopardy when, instead of somebody answering the question, they wrote a little message to Alex. I'm going to play that for you all real quick. So if you're on Facebook, it's Facebook, YouTube. All right. I think I'm sharing sound. Hold on. I want to make sure I'm sharing sound with you, all listeners out there, because you should hear it.
Yeah.
Okay. Here we go.
Let's take a look at your response. Did you come up with the right one? No? What is "We Love You" out? That's very kind of you. Thank you. Costs you $19.95. You're left with $5. Okay.
And I think for anybody that wasn't watching that was a response from 2019 where someone said, "We love you, Alex," instead of actually answering the full question at first, and it didn't hit him until after.
It was the betting question,
and
so he bet one that when he said 1995, he bet $1,995, threw that away.
He had only $2,000.
He only had $2,000 just to say, "We love you, Alex."
And he got so choked up. He said I heard an interview when he talked about it. He said, I read it. It didn't hit me until after I read it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
What?
And you could hear it in his voice too after he reads it.
He starts to get choked up about it. And I that just shows how many people this made an impact. Whether you I know I wasn't someone that watched it every night or anything, but I know you knew the name, you knew Jeopardy, how big Jeopardy became. Everybody knows Jeopardy. Everybody knows the host. It's such a sad day. I mean, I'm glad we have until December to see some episodes with Alex, but it's sad. I feel so horrible. It's definitely a sad note to end on a Monday.
I do have, I always, without fail, I'm determined to end the show on positive notes. So a real quick last story to end the show on. So an iconic New York bookstore. We've seen a lot of local businesses go under especially, you know, as someone who lives in a town that is literally built on the backs of small business. It is heartbreaking to see a lot of small businesses go under because of the pandemic. Well, a very iconic New York bookstore, I believe Strand Bookstore in New York, was about to go under, and they sent out a plea to their faithful fans of the bookstore, and then they were flooded with $200,000 worth of orders to keep the business afloat. So
The power of small business.
the power of small business, it is literally known worldwide. Strand Bookstore in New York City for its 18 miles of books. Yeah. So
So that's a good note.
just a good note to end on, you know.
Always positive news, even in the saddest of days.
Exactly. You know, supporting your local business is always very important, and we are huge advocates of that here on 90.3 WMSC, Upper Montclair, New Jersey.
Segue right
That
there.
was
It is
that
the
was
top of the hour.
sadly 9 o'clock
Sadly, 9
for
o'clock.
us here.
Thank you for listening to us, everybody out there, listening to us on 90.3 or iHeartRadio, or if you're watching on Facebook or even YouTube later.
Hello, future people.
Hello, future people. But we appreciate it always. Obviously, the Morning Buzz will continue throughout the rest of the week. Tomorrow, 8 to 9 as well with Philippe and Tara. And there'll actually be a special interview as well with Christine Mesenheitler, who is Miss Dean Music. And they did an awesome interview that will be airing tomorrow. So if anybody's interested in that, that's always cool. And obviously for the rest of the week, 8 to 9 for the Morning Buzz.
Exactly.
I have been Amanda Marino.
Last time I checked, I've been Ryan Trick.
And I'm Kyle Pepitone.
And we will see you guys
and hear you
next
no,
time.
not hear
And
you guys.
hear
We'll
you
see you
guys.
guys next time.
Well, we won't see you. You'll see us and hear us next time. Have a good day, everybody.